Sharma. Mr. Sharma, I mean, I can only say it from my experience. What happened is, and I live in Amrapali property. So what happened is that they take money from people for giving them an apartment in exchange, and then the builders go and start investing it in their other business. And when that business starts failing, who pays the price for it? It's actually the people who may have bought that flat and who have invested in it. Do you think the whole entire business model of these builders, where they're not just dedicated builders, but they have multiple business, and perhaps they say we are going to branch out, we're going to extend our infrastructure, that is the genesis of the problem? Mr. Dhruv Sharma. Yes.
Yes, ma'am. I think I would agree with this on a note, but considering this particular case that just happened in Noida about the Twin Tower, I don't think that this can be put on the builders. There's a reason to that. Why I'm saying this is that the one single department which is allocated to look into the revenue department, to look into the town planning department, because we have to consolidate all the things together so that there's one authority who's speaking on the behalf of everything. So now, since past it took 2-3 years for those towers to come up. There's a proper procedure for these files to run through. You have every department falling in, talking about revenue. Revenue has to look into who holds the title of the land. Secondly, we have the town planning, which dictates as to what the land use is. So where were these departments then? And now that the builder has put in money, he's pumped in money from the bank, he's taken money from the investors, he's taken money from the people who've bought. And so final suffering comes down to these guys, which is, I think, something which is not acceptable. So someone, in case you take my opinion on the thing, neither the Supreme Court nor the builder, no one is to be blamed. It's only and only the authority, because that was a lack, and this mistake has to be completely put on them. That's my take on the thing.
Okay, that's very interesting. You don't want to blame the builders. Mr. Bejon Mishra, I mean, I know there's RERA, there's the court options, but I know, for example, a lot of people who say it's so cumbersome to go to courts, fight a long legal battle, and not everyone may be lucky. Are there really any consumer rights for those people who invest their hard-earned money into properties, especially in these big, swanky residential apartments?
You see, I recall 40 years back when I started the consumer, or I would say I joined the consumer movement, so-called, at that point of time. The laws were there, but we would take 10 years to get a telephone connection, maybe 15 years to get a two-wheeler, and we have moved on from there. And the trigger was 1986 when we brought out the Consumer Protection Act, where we got the rights, as you have very rightly said. The consumers enshrined, were given the rights legally in 1986. And what did we want? We wanted easy refund, easy exchange of money, compensation for damage caused, and simple redressal mechanism in the country. But what happened? The bureaucracy, the judiciary, everybody made it so cumbersome, that the consumers were unable to access their rights, even with the law. Then we worked on, say, the builder mafia, which was going on. The connivance between the builders and the landowners in terms of whether it's a public property or a private property. All these things, laws need to be very, very citizen friendly. What do I mean by that? 36 years have gone by, not a single case the government has gone on behalf of the consumer to file before the Supreme Court or before the NCDRC. Whereas the law says that the government can go on behalf of the consumers to seek relief and remedy for the consumers. Now, my biggest question is, why is the government not going on behalf of the victims who are crying loud and who are having tears every day in their eyes? The policies have to be very transparent, accountable, so that no corruption can creep in order to avoid, corruption, in order to bring in good governance, you need laws which are citizen friendly. And this is what we are trying to say. Like, for example, in the housing sector, I have been personally demanding for the last 30 years on behalf of the consumers that no house can be sold or put for sale if it is not ready to be walked in and used or bought right away. We don't want to see deferred payment. We don't want to see
Yeah,
promises.
I also
We don't
have
want to see-
yeah, I also have Mr. U BS Teotia joining us. He is the RWA president. Thank you so much for connecting with us. Finally, my first question to you, and I'm really interested in knowing that. Do you think today's demolition was something which was right? It should have happened today, or there was no other way out, or perhaps that tower could have remained and maybe used for something else?
Absolutely right. The demolition had to happen because the demolition has taken place because of various reasons. The people who were staying nearby, their hawa, air, light, and fire safety was completely compromised by the builder. Not only that, he had promised it to give us only 650 flats in the whole society of the area of that place. He tried to make it another 950. It would have become a Gita colony. And had we not taken up the case, perhaps we would have lived like a kanjar in the society. And having said so, you see, when we joined in 2010, we saw that the promises which he had made was absolutely nowhere nearby. In addition to it, when there were only 23 flats are to be made in this place and a children park was there, he tried to make it 950 flats. How could we think of living in such a society? So as such, as far as this demolition is concerned, it is justified. Number one, from various angles, from living point of view. Number two, just also the message to the whole nation that the builder and the authorities cannot take away the rights of the individuals and clients, and they cannot take
Sudhir
it.
Krishna, today, on a day like today, many of those who may have invested in that Supertech property which came down may be upset. They may be crying, some of them, but I don't know how many of those tears are being shed by any of those bureaucrats who are responsible, or even if from the Supertech owners itself. I mean, how does it work out? I mean, they come to you for permission. By you, I mean, of course, the concerned authorities. They go to it for. Isn't there any fact checking? Isn't there any site report which is sought, or there is just random approvals given, and some who are in hand in glove with the builders? Is that how it works?
Now, it is a question where the laws which are well designed, well drafted, are misused by misinterpreting. And the misinterpretation could be willful, or somebody can say that, it was misunderstanding. But in this case, Supreme Court has gone into all those details. So I don't think that, and the judgment of Supreme Court is very crystal clear. And as I said earlier, well analyzed. So that issue is at rest, should be taken at rest. Now the question you are asking is an important question as to what should be done with the authorities who did that, and the people who are suffering, of the people who were allotted the flats and they could not enjoy. Now in this case particularly, because of Supreme Court intervention, at least the allottees are getting their money back with some interest, whatever, may not be fully 100% compensating, but something is there. But there are a large number of people who are suffering without such support from any court order and so on. I mean, projects are not completed and people are suffering. So that is how the RERA Act was introduced, and the RERA authorities are there. And you mentioned that the builder transfers the funds of one project to another project. All is supposed to be resolved through the RERA Act. The RERA Act mandates that each developer shall maintain separate account for each project. I mean, the laws are there. Now the question is how to enforce the law. That is the whole